Hey everybody, welcome to the daily update for, I didn't even figure out what day it is today. I have a page a day calendar for 2026, but I don't have it in yet. So what do we have here? We have the 8th, Monday, December 8th. Happy Monday. Just a reminder, if you're not in the trading room, get in that trading room. So let's, today was a boring day. Let me flip over here, big screen. Super boring day today. Nothing really important going on. We got the Fed coming up on Wednesday. I think everyone's kind of waiting for that. Last week we saw the PCE numbers, which are kind of that not too cold, not too hot, maybe just right, which hopefully will give the Fed the green light, not like they really need the green light. So I'll tell you what, I try to stay out of the news cycle for most of the week. Certainly anything that doesn't have to do with the market. Like I'm like on a news fast for the last 6 months, and it's great. But even on the weekends, I try to cut back my news exposure. I'll jump into the trading room from time to time because people will post stuff in there that's important or stuff that's happened over the weekend. But what I usually do is I look in there Sunday at 3:00 ish, because that's when the futures open out here in Pacific Coast. I didn't do it yesterday. I looked at it like 6, 7 o'clock at night last night, and I got a great surprise. A great surprise. A great way to start off the week, and that is CFLT. Let me just flip back over here. Yeah, there we go. CFLT, which is one of our, I always do this. Let's see, I had to flip back over to this screen. There you go. CFLT, which is one of our focus stocks right there. Boom, up 30%. Now, to be honest, you really couldn't have gotten into CFLT unless you happened to buy it after hours on Friday. But this is a name that I actually bought some here, and I bought some when it dipped down here, and I've been talking about it in the trading room. And what I think is great about it, or great about this position, great about this 30% win, is I didn't come up with this name. I didn't scan for this name. It wasn't in my universe of stocks. I didn't even know it existed. It was a Lund Loop subscriber, member of the community. I almost said his real name. Velo Trader, who's my buddy for a long, long time. I first saw it when he posted in the Discord, and I saw it and I'm like, okay, interesting. I looked at a little bit at the fundamentals. He's more of a fundamental guy too. There were some spots that made sense from a technical standpoint. This is the power of having 600 sets of eyes on the market. And I made 30% on this really without doing anything, which is nice. So anyway, let's flip over. Like I said, not much going on today. Just chop, chop, chop. Let's get stiff little fingers out of here. And let's go back over here. We did have one name that kind of started a move today, Okta. And I talked about this on Friday, this big igniting candle after earnings. I love a setup like this. Big gap down after earnings, and then just bought back up. And in this case, bought back up even above the previous day's close. Then a very, very tight 2-day pattern here where it's super easy to know where your risk is, right? It's right here. So it gets below there, you're probably wrong. So we put it on the green list on Friday, the daily setups. You could have bought it after hours. Would have been a little bit harder to buy it today. But I want to just take a look at if you had bought it after hours, and let's say you bought it for a trade. Okay, remember we talked about this strategy. What strategy are you using when you get into a position? Was this strategy a day trade strategy? Was it a swing trade strategy? Maybe it's a day trade strategy that will then graduate to a swing trade strategy if the technicals warrant it, or if you play it correctly. So let's say it was just a pure day trade. You're like, I just want to get into this thing for some cash flow. So how would you have played this thing? Well, there's a couple ways you could have done it. If you're super aggressive, you could have used the 5 EMA, right? The intraday 5 EMA, and you say, I'm just going to close it if it breaks below the 5. So there it is. You close it, you're out. You could have said, I'm going to close it if it breaks below the 9 EMA, which is a little bit of a less aggressive intraday EMA, and you would have stayed into it until right about there. So you would have been out roughly the same spot as the 5. You could have said, I'm going to stay in it until the 20 breaks, which would have been like right there. And again, you would have been in it probably about the same spot. Now, here's what you could have done. You could have said, well, here's forget about the EMAs. Maybe you're just going to do it on a chart basis. So it runs up here. You know, it's not going to go straight to the sky. It comes in, it puts a little low there, and you say, okay, I'm going to hold it as long as it's above that low. So it bounces, it bases. Now it starts going like this, but here's what happens. It comes back in below the high, right? So you say, I'm going to hold it as long as it holds this low, comes in, bounces, holds that low, breaks into new highs, pulls back a little bit, breaks into new highs again, and then pulls back in and fails. So at that point, you got to start thinking, I'm going to probably sell it, right? You for sure would want to sell it when it starts to do this, when you start to see a breakdown in that uptrend, you know, something like this. And again, it just depends on what your own particular proclivities are. But the point is there are technical spots that you could say, okay, objectively, I should be out there. Objectively, I should be out there. Now, let's say you want to swing this thing. Let's say that was your intent. Not that you were starting a day trade that was going to graduate to a swing. That could still happen. Let's say you said, I think this thing's got lots of upside. I'm going to swing this. So you get into it. How do you swing it to reduce your risk? Well, I think one of the things you would have done is probably sold half on this breakout here, or sell a half on the fail here. If you didn't here, you sell it here. So now what you've got is you've banked a profit from basically here to here. You've taken half off, and now you've got some cushion. So if you look at it on a daily, and so there's, let's say your entry point was, let's say you bought it at the close on Friday. So there's your entry point. You book some profits up here. You still got a long, you can give it a lot of room to kind of settle out, and hopefully it holds this area and then goes like that. And if it does come back in, it's okay. You're out with a profit. So there's lots of strategic ways you can do this depending on what strategy you've picked for the stock based upon your analysis and what it does, how it acts. Because remember, strategy dictates management. So, all right, let's go through the whole stack here. All right.